Every morning as the sun began to peek over the horizon, Mr. Thompson climbed into the driver's seat of his yellow school bus. He adjusted the rearview mirror, checked the fuel gauge, and gave a small sigh before turning the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life, filling the crisp air with its familiar rumble. For years this routine had been his constant companion, driving the same route, stopping at the same corners, greeting the same faces. But lately, something, or rather someone, had caught his attention. Maya was a quiet girl who always sat in the very back of the bus. She wasn't loud like some of the other kids, nor did she join in on their jokes or games. Instead, she kept to herself, clutching her backpack tightly against her chest as though it were a shield. At first, Mr. Thompson didn't think much of it. Teenagers often went through phases where they preferred solitude, but then he started noticing something that made his heart ache, a faint glimmer of tears in her eyes almost every day. It was subtle, easy to miss if you weren't paying close attention. Sometimes Maya would quickly wipe her cheeks with the sleeve of her sweater before anyone could see. Other times, she'd stare out the window, her lips trembling slightly as though fighting back sobs. Mr. Thompson tried convincing himself it was nothing serious. Maybe she'd had a fight with a friend, or perhaps she was struggling with schoolwork. Everyone had bad days after all. Yet the pattern persisted. Day after day, week after week, Maya's sadness lingered like an unspoken shadow. One particularly dreary afternoon, the sky heavy with gray clouds. Mr. Thompson watched Maya board the bus. Her head was bowed low, raindrops clinging to her hair, and her shoulders slumped under the weight of her backpack. As she settled into her usual seat, Mr. Thompson couldn't help but feel a pang of concern. "You okay, sweetheart?" he called out gently, breaking the silence that usually filled the bus during the ride home. Maya glanced up briefly, startled by the question. Her dark eyes met his for a fleeting moment before darting away. "I'm fine," she mumbled barely, audible over the hum of the engine. Her voice lacked conviction, and the way she fidgeted with the straps of her backpack told a different story altogether. Mr. Thompson nodded slowly, not wanting to push too hard. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was going on. As the bus rolled along its route, dropping off students one by one, Mr. Thompson found his thoughts drifting back to Maya. He remembered how, earlier that week, another student had teased her about her clothes. It wasn't malicious, at least not overtly, but Maya had flinched as though struck. She hadn't retaliated or even defended herself. Instead, she'd simply looked down at her lap, her fingers gripping the edge of her seat. That image haunted him now, replaying in his mind like a scene from a movie he couldn't turn off. When the last child stepped off the bus, leaving only Maya behind, Mr. Thompson hesitated. Should he say something? Ask again if everything was all right? Or would that only make things worse? Before he could decide, Maya stood up abruptly, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. Without meeting his gaze, she muttered a quick, "Thanks," and hurried toward the door. The sound of her footsteps echoed hollowly as she disappeared into the rainy evening. For a moment, Mr. Thompson sat frozen in his seat, staring at the empty space where Maya had been sitting. Then curiosity got the better of him. He climbed out of his chair and walked to the back of the bus. Something about the way she clung to her seat, the way she seemed so protective of her belongings, it nagged at him. Kneeling down, he peered underneath the cushion where she always sat. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just dust bunnies and a few stray wrappers left behind by careless passengers. But then, his fingers brushed against something soft yet firm wedged deep beneath the seat. Pulling it out, Mr. Thompson's breath hitched. It was a crumpled piece of paper, folded hastily as though meant to be hidden. His stomach churned as he unfolded it, revealing scrawled words that sent chills down his spine. "No one likes you." Another note followed, then another, each more hateful than the last. Some mocked her appearance, calling her ugly and worthless. Others accused her of stealing attention or ruining friendships. Each sentence cut deeper than the last, painting a picture of relentless cruelty inflicted upon a young girl who already carried enough burdens. Mr. Thompson sank onto the nearest seat, his hands trembling as he sifted through the pile of papers. How long had these messages been accumulating here? Days? Weeks? Months? And how many more might there be scattered elsewhere? His mind raced with questions, guilt gnawing at him for not noticing sooner. Had Maya dropped them accidentally, or had someone deliberately shoved them under her seat as part of the torment? Either way, the evidence was undeniable and horrifying. Sitting alone in the dimly lit bus, Mr. Thompson felt anger bubbling inside him. Anger at whoever had written those cruel words, anger at himself for failing to intervene earlier, and anger at the world for allowing such ugliness to exist. But beneath the anger lay something else: resolve. This wasn't just a matter of teenage drama or harmless teasing. This was bullying, plain and simple, and it needed to stop. For Maya's sake, and for the sake of every child who might suffer silently in similar ways, Mr. Thompson knew he had to act. The rain continued to patter against the windshield as he gathered the notes carefully, tucking them into his jacket pocket. Tomorrow, he decided, he would take the first step toward making things right. Whatever it took, however uncomfortable it might be, he owed it to Maya, and to the promise he'd made to himself when he chose this job, to ensure that no child ever felt this kind of pain again. The next morning, Mr. Thompson woke up earlier than usual. The events of the previous evening weighed heavily on his mind, replaying like a broken record. He couldn't stop thinking about Maya, the way she carried herself with quiet resignation, as if the world had already decided her worth. And those notes, each word etched in cruelty, felt like a punch to the gut. How could anyone be so heartless? What kind of environment had allowed such hatred to fester? As he prepared for work, Mr. Thompson debated what to do next. He knew he couldn't ignore what he'd found. It was too important, too urgent. But how should he approach it? Confronting Maya directly might scare her or make her feel exposed. Reporting it anonymously to the school administration seemed cowardly, especially since he had personally witnessed her pain. After much deliberation, he decided to speak with Principal Carter at the high school. It wasn't just about solving a problem. It was about protecting Maya and ensuring justice was served. When Mr. Thompson arrived at the school office later that day, nerves prickled beneath his skin. He hadn't planned exactly what to say, but he clutched the bundle of notes tightly in his hand as though they were evidence in a court case. The secretary greeted him warmly, asking if he needed anything specific. "I need to see Principal Carter," he replied, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. A few minutes later, he was ushered into her office, where she sat behind a cluttered desk, looking both curious and slightly concerned. "Mr. Thompson, this is unexpected," Principal Carter said, gesturing for him to sit. Her tone was polite but guarded, as though bracing herself for bad news. Taking a deep breath, Mr. Thompson began explaining. He described Maya, her quiet demeanor, her frequent tears, and the hateful notes he'd discovered under her seat. As he spoke, Principal Carter's expression shifted from skepticism to alarm. She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the desk, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "These notes, you're sure they're hers?" she asked cautiously, clearly trying to piece together the situation. Mr. Thompson nodded, pulling them out of his pocket and spreading them across the table. They were stuffed under her seat. "I don't know who wrote them, but I'm certain they're meant for her." Principal Carter picked up one of the crumpled papers, scanning its contents with a furrowed brow. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she read aloud some of the more vicious lines. "You don't belong here. Why don't you just leave? A moment. Silence hung thick in the air. Then Principal Carter exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "This is unacceptable," she muttered, more to herself than to Mr. Thompson. "If this is happening on my watch, I need to put an end to it. Immediately." She looked up at him, her gaze sharp and determined. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Rest assured we'll investigate thoroughly." Relieved yet still uneasy, Mr. Thompson left the office feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was glad he'd taken action. On the other, he couldn't shake the guilt gnawing at him. Had he violated Maya's trust by going through her things? Would she ever forgive him for exposing her private struggles? These questions swirled in his mind as he returned to his bus route, dreading the inevitable confrontation. That afternoon, when Maya boarded the bus, Mr. Thompson's heart sank. She avoided his eyes completely, sliding into her usual seat without saying a word. The tension between them was palpable, stretching like an invisible thread that neither dared to break. For the rest of the ride, Mr. Thompson wrestled with whether to apologize or explain himself. Ultimately, he stayed silent, unsure of what to say. When she stepped off the bus at her stop, he watched her retreating figure disappear into the distance, feeling more conflicted than ever. Over the next few days, whispers began circulating among the students. Rumors spread about an investigation into bullying incidents, though no names were mentioned publicly. Maya became even quieter, avoiding eye contact not only with Mr. Thompson, but also with most of her classmates. Some kids sneered at her, while others offered sympathetic glances. The division was clear, those who pitied her and those who blamed her for stirring trouble. Meanwhile, Principal Carter wasted no time launching an inquiry. Teachers were instructed to monitor interactions closely, and several students were called in for questioning. At first, many denied any involvement, claiming ignorance or innocence, but as the principal pressed harder, cracks began to show. One boy admitted to writing a note, insisting it was just a joke and that he hadn't meant to hurt anyone. Another girl confessed tearfully, admitting she'd been jealous of Maya's grades and popularity with certain teachers. Slowly, but surely pieces of the puzzle came together. Despite the progress, the process wasn't smooth. Some parents defended their children vehemently, accusing the school of overreacting. Others argued that Maya must have done something to provoke such behavior, refusing to believe their kids capable of cruelty. Principal Carter faced backlash from all sides, but she remained resolute. "We can't sweep this under the rug," she told her staff during a meeting. "Ignoring it won't make it go away. We owe it to our students to create a safe environment." Amidst the chaos Maya continued to endure, each day felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between fear and hope. Part of her wished the whole ordeal would vanish, allowing her to return to anonymity. Another part longed for closure, for the bullies to face consequences and for the torment to finally stop. Though she rarely showed it, her resilience amazed those around her. Even Mr. Thompson, watching silently from his driver's seat, marveled at her strength. One afternoon, after weeks of investigations and meetings, an announcement was made over the intercom. All students were required to attend an assembly addressing bullying and kindness. The gymnasium buzzed with murmurs as everyone filed in, curious about the sudden gathering. When Principal Carter took the stage, her presence commanded attention. She didn't mince words, laying out the severity of the situation and acknowledging the harm caused by bullying. Tears glistened in her eyes as she urged the students to reflect on their actions and consider the impact of their words. "We are better than this," she declared firmly, her voice echoing through the room. "Each of you has the power to lift someone up or tear them down. Choose wisely." The message resonated deeply, sparking conversations long after the assembly ended. While not everyone agreed with the measures being taken, there was a noticeable shift in atmosphere. Some students approached Maya afterward, offering apologies or simply kind words. Others remained distant, unwilling to let go of old grudges. Through it all, Maya began to change. The weight on her shoulders seemed lighter, her steps surer. She still carried scars, emotional ones that wouldn't fade overnight, but she also carried newfound courage. One day, as she climbed onto the bus, Mr. Thompson noticed something different about her. Instead of slinking to the back, she paused near the front, meeting his gaze briefly. Though she didn't smile, there was a glimmer of gratitude in her eyes, a silent acknowledgement of his role in turning her life around. For Mr. Thompson, that fleeting moment was enough. He realized then that his decision, however difficult, had been the right one. Protecting Maya wasn't just about stopping the bullies. It was about giving her a chance to heal, to grow, and to reclaim her dignity. As the bus rumbled forward, carrying its passengers toward home, Mr. Thompson allowed himself a small smile. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but for now, hope burned brightly. And sometimes, that was all anyone needed to keep moving forward. The weeks following the assembly marked a turning point in Maya's life, though it wasn't without its challenges. The school had implemented stricter policies against bullying, including mandatory counseling sessions for those involved and workshops designed to promote empathy among students. While some embraced these changes, others resisted fiercely. For every kind word Maya received, there was a sneer or whispered insult waiting around the corner. Still, she pressed on, determined not to let negativity define her. Mr. Thompson watched closely from his vantage point on the bus. He noticed the subtle shifts in Maya's demeanor, how she held her head higher now, even when others stared at her. Occasionally, he'd catch glimpses of her smiling as she chatted with a few classmates who had started sitting near her. It was a small but meaningful change, proof that kindness could bloom even in the harshest conditions. Yet Mr. Thompson couldn't help but feel protective. He knew the scars of bullying ran deep, and while Maya seemed stronger, healing took time. One rainy afternoon, as the bus made its usual rounds, Maya boarded carrying something unusual, a small notebook tucked under her arm. She settled into her seat, flipping open the pages and beginning to write. Curiosity piqued. Mr. Thompson glanced in the rearview mirror whenever traffic allowed. At first, he thought she might be jotting down homework assignments or doodling absent-mindedly. But then he saw her pause, her pen hovering over the page as if searching for the right words. There was an intensity in her expression, a focus that suggested this was more than just casual writing. Later that week, during one of their brief exchanges, Mr. Thompson mustered the courage to ask about it. "What are you working on back there?" He called out gently after most of the passengers had disembarked. Maya looked up, startled by the question. For a moment she hesitated, clutching the notebook tightly to her chest. Then with a shy smile she replied, "It's sort of like a journal. I'm writing about everything that happened." Her honesty caught Mr. Thompson off guard. He hadn't expected her to open up so freely, especially given how guarded she'd been in the past. Encouraged by her response, he nodded warmly. "That sounds brave," he said. "Writing can be powerful. It helps you make sense of things." Maya's smile widened slightly and she added, "I'm also writing letters to myself, like reminders that I'm stronger than what people say about me." Those words stayed with Mr. Thompson long after Maya stepped off the bus. They reminded him of why he'd chosen this job, not just to drive kids from place to place, but to be part of their journeys, however messy or complicated they might be. Over the next few days, he found himself reflecting on his own life, wondering how many times he'd let fear or doubt dictate his choices. Maya's resilience inspired him, pushing him to think differently about the world and his role in it. Meanwhile, Maya continued to grow in ways both visible and unseen. Her newfound confidence spilled over into other areas of her life. In class, she began raising her hand more often, sharing her thoughts without hesitation. During lunch breaks, she joined group discussions, laughing alongside peers who once ignored her. Even her teachers noticed the difference, praising her for her active participation and positive attitude. It was as though the storm clouds that had loomed over her were finally beginning to clear, but not everyone welcomed this transformation. Some of the same students who had bullied her remained bitter, resentful of the attention Maya was receiving. Whispers followed her in hallways, and snide comments occasionally slipped through cracks in the school's efforts to enforce discipline. One particularly harsh remark came during gym class when a boy muttered loud enough for her to hear, "Guess you're everybody's favorite victim now, huh?" Maya froze mid-step, her cheeks flushing red. For a split second, she considered retreating into herself, letting the familiar sting of shame take hold. But instead, she turned to face him, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I'm not a victim," she said firmly, "and whatever you think of me doesn't matter anymore." Her words echoed in the silence that followed, leaving the boy and everyone else speechless. As she walked away, heads turned in admiration. That moment became a turning point, solidifying Maya's reputation as someone who refused to be broken. Back on the bus, Mr. Thompson witnessed fragments of Maya's evolving story. She started bringing books to read during rides, losing herself in tales of triumph and perseverance. Sometimes she'd share snippets of her own writing with him, reading aloud poems or short reflections she'd penned. Each piece revealed a side of her personality he hadn't seen before, creative, thoughtful, and deeply introspective. Their conversations grew longer, covering topics ranging from favorite movies to dreams for the future. Maya confided in him about wanting to become a counselor someday, helping others navigate struggles similar to hers. "You'd be great at that," Mr. Thompson told her one evening as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the bus windows. His words carried sincerity, and Maya beamed, clearly touched by his encouragement. For the first time in months, she felt truly seen, not as a victim, but as someone capable of making a difference. As spring approached, bringing warmer weather and longer days, Maya's transformation became undeniable. She no longer flinched at the sound of laughter or avoided crowded spaces. Instead, she moved through her days with purpose, radiating a quiet strength that inspired those around her. Even the bullies, though still present, seemed less bold, their taunts losing their venom in the face of Maya's unwavering resolve. Principal Carter noticed the shift too. During a staff meeting, she praised the progress made since the investigation began, highlighting Maya's growth as a testament to the importance of addressing bullying head-on. "Change isn't easy," she reminded everyone. "But when we stand together, we create opportunities for healing and growth." Her message resonated deeply, reinforcing the idea that compassion could overcome cruelty. For Mr. Thompson, watching Maya thrive was both rewarding and humbling. He realized how interconnected their lives had become, bound by shared experiences and mutual respect. Though he'd initially doubted his decision to intervene, seeing the impact it had on Maya reaffirmed his belief in doing what was right, even when it was difficult. Every morning, as he climbed into the driver's seat, he carried that lesson with him, knowing that each passenger brought unique stories and struggles worth acknowledging. By the end of the school year, Maya had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. And while the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, she faced it with courage and determination. On the last day of school, as she boarded the bus for the final time that year, she handed Mr. Thompson a small gift wrapped in colorful paper. Inside was a handwritten note. "Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You changed my life." Tears welled up in Mr. Thompson's eyes as he read the words. For all the miles he'd driven and all the passengers he'd carried, this moment stood out, a reminder of the profound impact kindness could have. As the bus pulled away, carrying Maya toward summer break and new adventures, Mr. Thompson smiled, knowing he'd played a small but vital role in her journey. Life, he thought, was full of unexpected twists and turns, but sometimes those detours led to the most beautiful destinations. As the new school year approached, Maya stood at a crossroads. The previous months had been transformative, but they had also left her with questions about who she was and what she wanted to become. She often thought about the person she used to be, the shy, withdrawn girl who sat in silence on the bus, hiding her tears from the world. That version of herself felt distant now, almost like a stranger. Yet the scars of her past lingered, reminders of battles fought and lessons learned. On the first day of school, Maya climbed onto Mr. Thompson's bus with a sense of purpose. Her backpack was lighter this time, not just because it carried fewer books, but because she felt unburdened by the weight of fear that once consumed her. As she took her usual seat near the back, she noticed something different about the atmosphere. Conversations buzzed around her, laughter, chatter, and even friendly arguments. But there was an undercurrent of respect. Students greeted each other warmly, and for the first time in years, no one seemed to be excluded or singled out. Mr. Thompson glanced at Maya through the rearview mirror, his lips curving into a small smile. He could see the change in her demeanor, a quiet confidence that radiated outward. It wasn't loud or flashy. Rather, it was steady and grounded, the kind of strength that came from within. "Ready for another year?" he asked as the bus pulled away from the curb. Maya nodded, returning his smile. "Yeah," she replied softly. "I think I am." The days that followed were a mix of excitement and challenges. Maya threw herself into her studies, determined to excel academically, but more importantly, she sought opportunities to connect with others. During lunch breaks, she joined a newly formed peer support group aimed at fostering inclusivity and understanding among students. At first, she hesitated to share her story, fearing judgment or pity. However, when she finally opened up during one meeting, the response was overwhelming. Other students listened intently, nodding in agreement or offering words of encouragement. Some even shared their own struggles, creating a bond that transcended differences. Word of Maya's involvement in the support group spread quickly, earning her recognition beyond her immediate circle. Teachers praised her leadership skills, while classmates began approaching her for advice or simply to talk. For someone who had once dreaded attention, Maya found herself embracing it, not out of vanity, but because she realized her voice mattered. Every conversation became an opportunity to inspire, to remind others that they weren't alone. Despite these positive developments, not everything was smooth sailing. Old habits died hard, and some of the same individuals who had bullied her continued to harbor resentment. Though their actions were less overt now, subtle jabs and cold shoulders persisted. One afternoon, as Maya walked down the hallway, she overheard a group of girls whispering behind her back. Something about attention seeker reached her ears, causing her steps to falter momentarily. Memories of pain surged forward, threatening to pull her back into self-doubt. But instead of retreating, Maya squared her shoulders and turned to face them. "If wanting to help people means seeking attention," she said calmly, "then maybe you should try it sometime." Her tone wasn't confrontational but firm, carrying the authority of someone who knew her worth. The girls exchanged awkward glances before dispersing, leaving Maya standing tall amidst the empty corridor. It was a small victory, yet it reinforced her belief that staying true to oneself was always worth the effort. Back on the bus, Mr. Thompson observed these changes with pride. He saw how Maya handled adversity with grace and resilience, qualities he admired deeply. Occasionally, they discussed her experiences, and he offered guidance whenever she needed it. Their conversations ranged from practical advice to philosophical musings about life's complexities. Through it all, their bond strengthened, evolving into something akin to mentorship. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves swirled outside the bus windows, Maya surprised Mr. Thompson with a question. "Do you ever wonder if things happen for a reason?" she asked suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Startled by the randomness of the query, Mr. Thompson chuckled lightly. "All the time," he admitted. "Sometimes, I think we're meant to go through tough times so we can grow stronger, or help someone else grow stronger." Maya nodded thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. "I used to hate what happened to me," she confessed. "But now, I feel like it taught me things I wouldn't have learned otherwise, like how to stand up for myself and for others." Her words struck a chord with Mr. Thompson, reminding him of why he loved his job. Driving a school bus wasn't just about transportation. It was about being part of journeys that shaped lives. That evening, after dropping off the last passenger, Mr. Thompson lingered on the bus for a moment, reflecting on Maya's statement. He thought about the countless students he'd encountered over the years, each carrying dreams, fears, and stories untold. How many of them had faced hardships similar to Maya's, and how many had emerged stronger because someone cared enough to intervene? Inspired by Maya's growth, Mr. Thompson decided to take a more active role in promoting kindness within the community. He started volunteering at local youth centers, sharing his experiences and encouraging young people to embrace empathy and compassion. His talks resonated with audiences, particularly when he spoke about Maya's journey. She didn't let bitterness define her, he would say. Instead, she chose to rise above it, and in doing so, she inspired everyone around her. Meanwhile, Maya continued to flourish. By mid-year, she had taken on additional responsibilities, including mentoring younger students and organizing anti-bullying campaigns. Her efforts earned her accolades, including a nomination for a Regional Youth Leadership Award. When the announcement came, Maya was initially hesitant to accept. "I didn't do anything special," she told Mr. Thompson modestly. "I just tried to make things better." "That's exactly what makes it special," he countered, his voice filled with conviction. "Not everyone tries. You did, and look how far you've come." Reluctantly, Maya agreed to attend the ceremony, where she delivered a heartfelt speech about overcoming adversity and finding strength in vulnerability. The audience erupted into applause, moved by her authenticity and courage. As winter gave way to spring, Maya prepared for her final semester of high school. College applications loomed large, and she spent hours drafting essays and researching programs. Counseling remained her top choice, driven by a desire to give back to others facing similar struggles. Mr. Thompson supported her every step of the way, proofreading drafts and offering insights based on his own observations. "You'll make an amazing counselor," he assured her repeatedly. "Just don't forget to take care of yourself along the way." By graduation day, Maya stood alongside her peers, dressed in a cap and gown, ready to step into the future. As she crossed the stage to receive her diploma, cheers erupted from the crowd. Among them was Mr. Thompson, clapping enthusiastically and wiping away tears of pride. Later, as the ceremony concluded and families gathered to celebrate, Maya sought him out. Handing him a framed photograph of the two of them together, she whispered, "Thank you for everything." For Mr. Thompson, the gesture symbolized more than gratitude. It represented hope, the belief that even in a world full of challenges, kindness could spark change. As he placed the photo on his dashboard beside mementos from years gone by, he knew Maya's story would stay with him forever, not because it was extraordinary, but because it reminded him of the power of connection, of seeing someone not as they are but as they could be. And so, as the seasons changed and new passengers boarded the bus, Mr. Thompson carried Maya's legacy with him. Each ride became an opportunity to listen, to encourage, and to inspire. Because in the end, life wasn't just about destinations. It was about the moments that shaped us along the way. And for both Maya and Mr. Thompson, those moments had transformed them in ways neither could have imagined. Years passed and life moved forward for both Maya and Mr. Thompson. For Maya, the transition from high school to college brought a whirlwind of new experiences, late-night study sessions, meeting people from diverse backgrounds, and navigating the complexities of adulthood. Yet despite the distance between them, her bond with Mr. Thompson remained strong. They exchanged letters regularly, each update bringing news of achievements, challenges, and dreams that continued to unfold. Maya's journey wasn't without its hurdles. College presented its own set of struggles, balancing academics with personal growth, managing finances on a tight budget, and finding her place in an unfamiliar environment. There were moments when self-doubt crept in, whispering cruel reminders of the past. But every time she felt overwhelmed, she remembered the lessons she'd learned during those difficult years on the bus. She reminded herself that resilience was built not by avoiding pain, but by facing it head-on. One particular semester proved especially challenging. Maya had enrolled in an advanced psychology course that required her to write a research paper on trauma and recovery. The topic hit close to home, forcing her to confront memories she'd worked hard to process. Nights were spent staring at blank pages, tears streaming down her face as emotions bubbled to the surface. It would have been easier to choose another subject, but something inside her refused to shy away. This was her story, and she wanted to tell it, not just for herself, but for others who might feel invisible or alone. When the paper was finally complete, Maya sent a copy to Mr. Thompson. He read it slowly, savoring each word as though flipping through the pages of a cherished book. Her writing was raw, yet eloquent, capturing the depth of her pain while celebrating her triumphs. In one passage, she wrote about the moment she realized she deserved better, that no amount of cruelty could diminish her worth. "I used to think I was broken," she confessed, "but now I know I'm whole, even if some pieces are still healing." Tears blurred Mr. Thompson's vision as he reached the final paragraph. He couldn't help but feel immense pride, not only for how far Maya had come, but also for the person she had become. She wasn't just surviving. She was thriving, using her experiences to light the way for others. After finishing the paper, he penned a heartfelt letter in response, congratulating her on her courage and encouraging her to keep sharing her voice with the world. Meanwhile, back in the small suburban town where their journey began, Mr. Thompson continued driving his bus. Though many of the faces changed over time, the essence of his job stayed the same: to connect, to care, and to make a difference. Each morning, as he climbed into the driver's seat, he carried Maya's story with him, letting it guide his interactions with passengers. Whether it was offering a kind word to a nervous freshman or intervening when tensions arose among students, he approached everything with empathy and understanding. One chilly winter afternoon, as snowflakes drifted lazily outside the bus windows, Mr. Thompson found himself reflecting on the ripple effect of kindness. Maya's transformation hadn't just impacted her, it had touched countless lives along the way. Teachers who once dismissed bullying as harmless teasing now took proactive measures to address it. Students who witnessed her strength began standing up for themselves and others. Even parents, initially resistant to change, started having open conversations with their children about empathy and respect. Inspired by these observations, Mr. Thompson decided to take his advocacy further. He collaborated with local schools to host workshops on bullying prevention and mental health awareness. Using Maya's story, with her permission, he illustrated the importance of speaking up and supporting one another. His presentations resonated deeply, sparking discussions that transcended classrooms and extended into communities. People often approached him afterward, thanking him for shedding light on issues they hadn't fully understood before. For Maya, college graduation marked the beginning of a new chapter. Armed with a degree in counseling, she secured a position at a youth center dedicated to helping adolescents navigate life's challenges. Her first day on the job filled her with equal parts excitement and nerves. Would she be able to make a difference? Could she truly inspire others the way Mr. Thompson had inspired her? Her doubts quickly dissipated as she settled into her role. Day after day, she listened to young people share their fears, frustrations, and hopes. Some came from broken homes, while others grappled with identity or societal pressures. Regardless of their circumstances, Maya met them with compassion, offering guidance rooted in her own experiences. She taught them coping strategies, encouraged them to embrace their uniqueness, and reminded them that they weren't alone. Word of Maya's impact spread rapidly. Parents praised her ability to connect with their children, while colleagues admired her dedication and insight. Within months, she became a pillar of support for the community, earning trust and admiration from all who crossed her path. Still, she never forgot the foundation upon which her success was built, the belief instilled in her by Mr. Thompson that everyone deserved kindness and understanding. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, several years after Maya's departure from the neighborhood, Mr. Thompson received an unexpected visitor. As he stepped off the bus after completing his route, he spotted a familiar figure waiting near the curb. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as she turned around, revealing a warm smile and bright eyes, there was no mistaking it. It was Maya. "Surprise," she exclaimed, rushing forward to hug him tightly. Tears welled up in Mr. Thompson's eyes as he held her, marveling at how much she'd grown since their last meeting. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. Maya laughed softly, explaining that she'd returned to visit family and to thank him properly for everything he'd done. "I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you," she said earnestly. "You saved me, Mr. Thompson. You gave me hope when I didn't think I had any left." Over coffee at a nearby cafe, Maya shared updates about her life. She spoke about her work at the youth center, describing the joy she felt watching young people overcome obstacles and discover their potential. She talked about her plans to expand outreach programs, ensuring that no child ever felt abandoned or unworthy. Listening to her, Mr. Thompson couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. All those years ago, when he'd stumbled upon those hateful notes under her seat, he hadn't known what lay ahead. Now, seeing the incredible woman Maya had become, he knew he'd made the right choice. Before leaving town, Maya accompanied Mr. Thompson on one last bus ride. Sitting together in the front row, they reminisced about old memories and marveled at how far they'd come. When the bus pulled up to Maya's stop, she hesitated, reluctant to say goodbye. "Promise me something," she said, turning to face him. "Keep doing what you're doing. Keep believing in people even when it feels impossible, because you never know whose life you'll change." With those words lingering in the air, Maya stepped off the bus, waving until she disappeared from view. Mr. Thompson watched her go, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. Life, he realized, was full of twists and turns, moments of darkness and bursts of light. And sometimes, amidst all the chaos, two strangers could cross paths and create something extraordinary. As he drove away, the framed photograph of Maya, sitting proudly on his dashboard, served as a constant reminder of their shared journey. For Mr. Thompson, it wasn't just a picture. It was proof that kindness mattered, that compassion could heal wounds, and that even the smallest acts of courage could leave lasting legacies. And though Maya was no longer a regular passenger on his bus, her presence lingered in every conversation, every smile, and every effort to make someone's day a little brighter. In the end, their story wasn't just about overcoming adversity or finding redemption. It was about connection, the threads that bind us together, weaving ordinary moments into extraordinary tapestries. For Maya and Mr. Thompson, those threads had transformed their lives in ways neither could have predicted, and as long as they continued to share their stories, their bond would endure, inspiring others to believe in the power of kindness, resilience, and hope. The years rolled on, and life kept moving forward for both Maya and Mr. Thompson. Yet their connection remained as strong as ever, a testament to the unbreakable bond forged through shared struggles and mutual respect. Letters continued to arrive in Mr. Thompson's mailbox, each one carrying updates from Maya about her work, her dreams, and the impact she was making in the lives of others. For him, these letters were more than just words on paper. They were reminders of the ripple effect of kindness, a chain reaction set into motion by a simple act of caring. Maya, now firmly established in her career as a counselor, dedicated herself to helping young people navigate the challenges of adolescence. Her office at the youth center became a safe haven for those who felt lost or misunderstood. She listened without judgment, offering guidance rooted in empathy and understanding. Many of her clients reminded her of herself, quiet, withdrawn, burdened by insecurities, but she saw potential in them, just as Mr. Thompson had seen potential in her. One particular case stood out among the rest. A teenage boy named Ethan arrived at the center reluctantly, dragged there by his mother after months of skipping school and lashing out at home. At first, he refused to engage, slouching in his chair with arms crossed tightly over his chest. But Maya didn't give up. Over weeks of sessions, she slowly broke through his defenses, uncovering layers of pain hidden beneath his tough exterior. He confided in her about being bullied relentlessly at school, feeling powerless to stop it. The parallels between his story and hers struck a chord deep within Maya, reigniting memories of her own battles. Determined to help Ethan find strength, Maya shared snippets of her journey, not to overshadow his experience, but to show him that healing was possible. "You don't have to let their words define you," she told him during one session. "What matters is how you see yourself." Those words resonated deeply with Ethan, planting seeds of hope in a heart that had long felt barren. Slowly, but surely, he began opening up, not just to Maya but also to his family and peers. By the time he graduated from high school, Ethan had transformed into a confident young man, eager to pursue his passion for music. Stories like Ethan's fueled Maya's determination to expand her outreach efforts. With support from local organizations, she launched workshops aimed at teaching students conflict resolution skills and fostering environments of inclusivity. These programs gained traction quickly, drawing attention from neighboring towns and even regional news outlets. Reporters often asked Maya what inspired her to dedicate her life to such meaningful work. Each time she credited Mr. Thompson, not only for intervening during her darkest days but also for showing her the transformative power of compassion. Meanwhile, back on the bus route, Mr. Thompson carried Maya's legacy with pride. Though retirement loomed closer with each passing year, he showed no signs of slowing down. His passengers came and went, faces changing with the seasons, yet his commitment to making a difference never wavered. Whether it was offering encouraging words to a nervous freshman or stepping in to mediate disputes, he approached every interaction with patience and care. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves danced in the breeze outside the bus windows, an unexpected visitor climbed aboard. It was Ethan, the same boy Maya had helped years earlier. Now taller and more self-assured, he greeted Mr. Thompson warmly, explaining that he'd recently started volunteering at the youth center where Maya worked. "She changed my life," Ethan said earnestly, his voice filled with gratitude. "And I want to pay it forward." Mr. Thompson beamed, feeling a swell of pride not only for Maya but also for the countless lives she had touched indirectly. Here was proof that kindness wasn't confined to individual acts. It spread outward, touching hearts and inspiring action long after the initial gesture. As Ethan settled into a seat near the front, chatting animatedly about his plans for the future, Mr. Thompson realized something profound. This was what true fulfillment looked like. Not wealth or fame, but knowing you'd made the world a little brighter for someone else. That evening, after finishing his route, Mr. Thompson sat alone on the bus, reflecting on the interconnectedness of their stories. Maya's resilience had sparked change in Ethan, who in turn was reaching out to help others, and somewhere along the way, Mr. Thompson's decision to intervene all those years ago had set the entire cycle in motion. Life, he mused, was like a tapestry woven from threads of choice, chance, and connection. Some threads were bold and vibrant, while others were subtle and understated, but together they created something beautiful. As Christmas approached, Maya returned to town once again, this time accompanied by Ethan and several other youths from the center. They organized a community event at the local park, complete with food, games, and performances celebrating unity and kindness. Mr. Thompson attended, watching proudly as Maya addressed the crowd, her voice steady and inspiring. "We're all connected," she said, scanning the sea of faces before her. "Every kind word, every small act of courage has the power to change someone's life, including your own." Afterward, as fireworks lit up the night sky, Maya sought out Mr. Thompson. Standing beside him, she slipped her hand into his, squeezing it gently. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears. "For everything." Words failed him in that moment, so he simply nodded, letting the warmth of their bond speak for itself. In the years that followed, Maya's influence expanded beyond the youth center. She wrote a book chronicling her journey, blending personal anecdotes with practical advice for overcoming adversity. The publication became a bestseller, earning praise from educators, parents, and mental health professionals alike. Proceeds from the sales-funded scholarships for underprivileged students, ensuring that opportunities for growth and learning remained accessible to all. Mr. Thompson retired shortly thereafter, trading the driver's seat for a quieter pace of life. Yet his legacy lived on, not only through the framed photograph of Maya still resting on his dashboard, but also through the countless lives he'd touched throughout his career. Former passengers often visited him, sharing stories of how his kindness had stayed with them over the years. "You taught me to believe in myself," one young woman told him during one such visit, "even when I didn't think I could." For Maya, success brought new challenges, but she faced them with the same resilience that had carried her through her darkest days. She traveled extensively, speaking at conferences and leading workshops around the globe. Everywhere she went, she carried Mr. Thompson's lessons with her, reminders that no act of kindness was too small, no effort to uplift another wasted. Decades later, when Maya stood before a packed auditorium delivering the keynote address at an international education summit, she paused mid-speech to share a memory. "There was a man," she began, her voice softening. "A bus driver who noticed a girl crying daily and decided to look closer. That decision changed my life, and through me, the lives of countless others." The audience erupted into applause. moved by the simplicity and depth of her message. Back home, Mr. Thompson watched a recording of the speech, tears streaming down his cheeks. He thought about the twists and turns that had led them here, the moments of doubt, courage, and triumph. Life, he realized, wasn't perfect. It was messy, unpredictable, and often unfair. But within its chaos lay infinite possibilities to connect, to heal, and to transform. As the screen faded to black, Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes. In his mind, he pictured Maya as she used to be, the quiet girl sitting in the back of the bus, clutching her backpack tightly. Then he imagined her as she was now, a beacon of hope and resilience lighting the path for others. Between those two images lay a lifetime of growth, struggle, and love, a testament to the enduring power of kindness. And though their journeys had taken different paths, Maya and Mr. Thompson remained forever linked by a single truth: that even in a world full of uncertainty, compassion could bridge divides, heal wounds, and create legacies that lasted far beyond lifetimes. Their story was proof of that, and it would continue to inspire generations to come.